Welcome back, everyone, to the PetaPixel Podcast. I hope. I mean, who knows what is going to come out of the next hour.
We will look like hot garbage shortly.
Yeah. The sun is going to go down in probably 5 minutes.
It's going to be pitch dark or shot at ISO like 25,000.
And that's just
not the usual amount of prep, I would say, going into this episode, but we did put these on. So
yeah, we've got happy coats on, and I should mention, we're in Aizu right now in Japan, which is the home of the Shigema. Shigema.
He's doing that because all of you who say he says Nikon wrong, he's like, well, then I have to say Sigma.
So from now it's Nikon, Shigema, Olympus, although now it's OM system.
As long as we're in Japan, isn't that still the hard and fast rule?
Yeah.
Yeah, as long as you're in the home region of the camera manufacturer, then you pronounce it in a way that will annoy some people, but delight some other people.
Great.
So this week, all of that aside, we're recording this prior to CP+. We are sure there's more going to be announced after we've recorded this, but we're going to just basically cover all the stuff we know about now, and then also really dig into what Sigma announced this week. That's basically our main story. And then Chris here did a lovely interview with the CEO of Sigma, Kazuto Yamaki.
Yeah, Yamaki Kazuto-san.
And there's a lot of cool information because Kazuto-san is one of the few people who runs a corporation in this industry who will answer questions.
Yes. He was actually very candid.
Yeah.
So
he's always candid.
Yeah, he's very candid.
He's the best.
And so well dressed. And I look like just a fat slob next to him, and that's okay.
He's
the contrast is the beauty of that particular frame.
He's very soft-spoken, very nice man. So hopefully you guys enjoy that interview. But so we're gonna get started with this. This podcast might be a little shorter than usual, but we're gonna do our best because we've been on the road today for like 5 hours already. So I'm ready to lie down. But here we go.
So Canada back home is freezing cold almost all the time, right? We're going through...
half the year.
Insane polar vortexes, though, dude, and we have to shoot in that. And you've actually probably, if you're watching the show, you've probably seen us wearing this stuff here, the Haukland jackets. And this is really cool because it's like a 7-in-1 jacket system. There's 3 layers. Jordan, show the 3 beautiful layers. What do you got on there?
So I got this wonderful waterproof outer shell here.
Yeah.
And that's then underneath it here, I got the roasty toasty second layer going on here.
That's not like the trade name. That's just what
that's what I call it when I'm reaching for it in the closet. And then on the inside is this like really nice kind of like fabric vest thing that I wear, probably a fleece. Thank you. That is the correct word that I wear all the time when we're out, even in like warm, like the other half of the year in Canada. This is like my default jacket right now.
It's actually the fleece is nice. It actually goes quite far down the body, so it covers Jordan's lanky torso really well. And they're very comfortable, very warm. I like that you can customize the layers. It's true. I like that you can customize the layers depending on how cold it is, or if it's just like a breezy day or just around freezing. Even the fleece is really nice. Or we can wear the roasty toasty. You see that a lot on our channel. But it's really comfortable stuff, and it's also not just like winter wear. It's made for photographers and videographers.
But how, Chris?
Well, first off, I do like that we've got actual options here on the parka for the wrist. It's got an inner lining to keep snow and junk out there. And also your gloves are going to go over that inner lining so you don't get cold air and snow in there, which is really comfortable if you're shooting. But also, look at this. I got the little pocket here on the arm. Put down, attach microfiber cloth so I can wipe off everything. It's designed so you don't lose it, but Jordan's already lost his somehow. I don't know.
There's also there's pockets on the inside, right?
What was that, Jaron? What was that?
There's pockets on the inside, right?
What? I think Jaren's referring to pockets on the inside and these sides. So here, I'm going to stand up. Look at this. You've got memory card holders, battery holders, all these pockets here. It's basically like having a camera bag inside your jacket. You can do the cool hey, anybody interested in this? Look at that. can do that. But I use it all the time for like batteries, absolutely, and also microphones. Like I'll just put the mic units into these pockets, and then I can have it up on the jacket. And these are on the Parka. They're also on the Roasty Toasty, the sort of puffy middle layer. So really, really convenient. I use it all the time.
Well, and the nice thing there is the mics and the batteries are the two things you want to keep warm. So they're right up against your body there. And what's kind of cool is if you want to access them, you don't have to like unzip and reach over the top, which would be super uncomfortable. Like you can just reach underneath and you can still get access to those.
Like a creepy reaching for a weapon kind of action. It's
you can do it in a more less awful way. Yeah.
But like it's innovative stuff. It's really high quality. We've been actually wearing it a long time now. I haven't had any sort of like threads coming loose or anything getting ripped or anything like that. It's been really rugged. The outer park is great for the Arctic kind of temperatures we face, waterproof. And like you also, it's not just jackets. They've got gloves, mitts. They've got like toques, beanies. Some people call them beanies, weird people. Toques that you can put on. Photography bags, backpacks. Like they have a whole line of gear. Definitely worth checking out. So the Haukland 7-in-1 Parka Pro jacket, definitely one of our favorites.
Yeah, I just want to say, they are a sponsor for this podcast and they have sponsored an episode previously, but every other time we've been wearing Haukland, it's because we look at our closet and say, this is the best thing for me to put on today. So we love them.
Yeah. I mean, we don't get paid to wear them on the show. We just really like the gear. So yeah, it's a hearty endorsement from me.
Well, me as well. What do you say, Kenny?
No. Well, I'm actually going to say it normally here. The innovative Haukland Parka Pro 7-in-1 jacket consists of those aforementioned 3 jacket layers and can be worn in 7 different ways, offering great versatility and comfort in the challenging and changing harsh weather conditions you may encounter. To see the Haukland 7-in-1 Parka Pro jacket, 3-in-1 photography gloves, and Haukland photography bags and backpacks, visit haukland.us or click on the link down below in the video description. Thanks to Haukland for sponsoring this episode of the PetaPixel Podcast.
Huge ups.
Chris doesn't actually think that I'm going to put this in. He thinks that I'm going to cut this, but he's using the new Sigma lens that he's testing
to shoot out the window.
And he's shooting out a crack in my hotel window because they don't let you open it very high because I'm 13 stories up. And the sun is going down and he desperately needs this.
It's so pretty.
So I'm just going to let him keep doing that.
You know what's cool, Jaron, is this lens isn't embargoed. So we can cut to the image that he's shooting right now.
I can.
The production value of this podcast, if he processes that image, is going to be off the charts.
Magical.
Right, so,
pure magic. Okay.
So what we're going to talk about first before we talk about Sigma is we're going to go look at OM System has a new...
What?
Lens roadmap. And on this lens roadmap, gosh, I can't even talk, they have added a new mid-range telephoto zoom.
I'm sorry. I this is how it works when we're all together, okay? We haven't asked a question to open up the video. Jordan normally asks a question to everybody.
Oh, so you want to derail this right now?
Yeah, no. I think we could do it right in the middle of this OM System roadmap, okay? But I want to ask you guys, from the times you've been to Japan, what so far is your favorite vending machine coffee?
Oh, Boss Rainbow.
Boss Rainbow, warm or cold?
That's tough because when we got that Boss Rainbow over, when we were shrine hunting for the icon, that was a very warm morning. Yeah, and a cold Boss Rainbow. That was really good. But I had hot here when it was very cold outside.
It's winter. It's February. It's cold.
I think I like it cold.
So the Boss of the sweeter ones is definitely the one that I like because most of them are so grossly sweet. It's like a Tim Hortons triple. It's a nightmare. With the sweeter ones, I like the Boss Rainbow, but I did have a hot one for the first time today, and it was pretty great. But no, what was the black coffee that I got? Yeah, I got a different one from you guys.
Oh, was it Georgia or something?
Yeah, it was Georgia coffee or something, and it tasted like real not exquisite coffee, but a real coffee, but it was in a can, and I thought it was wonderful. But it's hard for me to be objective when I'm doing these things because I'm usually either exhausted or, jet lagged, hungry, whatever. I need to just be in a comfortable Calgary home with a pile of 20 canned coffees from Japan, and then I can make a real objective statement.
What about you?
It is winter. I'm not a big fan of Team Rainbow because I don't want sweet coffee. I like black. I had the Craft which is again a Suntory Boss. Yeah, Bosscraft. It was nice, but I still like a good basic cold Bossbraque. I love it. Fantastic.
There's so many coffees here that are in vending machines or in convenience stores.
But we all agree, and again, it's just us.
Orange tea. Sidebar.
You like
Holy crap, was that good.
You guys like sugar. Japanese food's got so much sugar.
I didn't actually like the
stuff.
orange tea as much as I thought I would. It was fine.
We're not big on kirin.
Yeah, I haven't really tried anything except for the orange tea, which was fine. I don't like
Outstanding.
anything that makes.
Yeah.
Suntory, I'm a Suntory boy.
Yeah. So anyways, okay, so back to former Olympus.
So I'll put it up on the screen. You should be able to see the roadmap, those of you listening. But this is one of their white lenses.
What?
So
Of which there's only 2, I believe, at present.
Yeah, the 150 to 400, of course, good lens.
Which is
very
good
good lens. Yeah. This looks like a little bit more compact.
this sits underneath that one as far as
Do
focal
you think it's like
length.
a 100 to 300 or like a
It looks
like
it's
50
great.
to 200?
They show the
2.8?
focal lengths right on there.
Not this one. They just say telephoto zoom.
Scroll up. Scroll up.
What? Oh, you're saying like around what it would
Oh,
be?
no, yeah, on the full chart.
Okay.
Here we go.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
40 to
this is going to be
150?
a 40. 40 to 200.
Oh, yeah. See, to 200. So I said, 40 or 50 to 200.
What do you think of that?
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's very close to the 40 to 150, which is a very well-established lens. So are we going to get a super fast aperture on this sucker, like a 40 to 200 f2?
It's hard.
That was an interesting sound you just made.
Yeah. I assume you were not trying to like appropriate my culture in a really stereotypical offensive way.
No, that was a big question mark. That was multiple question marks, not a sign
I don't
of
think they can do F2.
Okay.
cultural.
No,
does
I
look
think
big.
it'll be an updated 40 or 50 to 200 2.8. That's my guess. Just giving a little bit more reach than the 40 to 150s do. Kind of split the difference between the two lenses that are already currently available.
Yeah,
Is it
I just
necessary?
feel like if it's a 2.8, I mean, that's to drop a whole new lens for 50 millimeter. Well, 100 millimeters equivalent.
Or does it have a built-in teleconverter?
I'd
Who
be into
knows?
that.
Who knows? We'll see. Anyways, exciting. That's the only update on the roadmap. But yeah, interesting.
I'm always thrilled to see new developments from OM System because it was so dry for so long. But now OM3, this would be their first completely unique lens design as well. So hopefully we'll have some exciting stuff. I mean, the president was very clear, like 2025 is the year where we're going to actually see
some stuff.
Yeah, what we can do.
Very nice. All right. The other piece of news.
We'll
that
go
dropped this
Bill
week-
hunting with that lens when it shows up.
The other piece of news this week that was worth talking about is that Leica is expanding its vintage-inspired classic line with a retro-styled Sumilux M 50mm f1.4.
Sure, but it's still just a Sumilux 50mm f1.4, right?
Yeah, but it's retro style.
Yeah, cool.
Correct?
But they've done this before. I mean, they're beautiful. I like it. The metal knurled rings, they're gorgeous. It's of course it's pretty, but this isn't the
they're
first
all
time
pretty.
that they've done this, right?
Has Leica ever made an ugly lens?
Oh, I think they. Oh, yeah.
Which one?
Like for
The
M.
Hectors. The old school Hectors are kind of ugly.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, I was going to say like some of their APS-C like L-mount
you
glass was...
shut your mouth. Oh yeah.
Yeah, not
No,
pretty.
you know
It was
what?
just
They don't make
utilitarian.
they don't make ugly lenses. I take it back. No. But I mean, beautiful. But I mean, we've seen this before.
I didn't see a price on this. Do you guys have a guess?
$86,000.
I'm going to say 7,000.
Let's find out. I have to click the link. 4,000. So 38.95.
Yeah.
I'll take 3.
Yeah, I will take 0. All right, here's one that was, I think, the most interesting news of last week.
Okay.
And that is Canon getting back into the PowerShot game with the V1 that looks basically like what the best that they can do against the ZV-1 Mark II, because it's a fixed lens, video, creator focused.
Look at that control ring, guys.
Yeah.
It's the return of the control ring.
And
from
effectively
the
a cropped micro four third sensor, so image quality is gonna be good.
Well, it's actually like a little wider.
Yeah, a little
so it's very
wider,
similar
but
to
then
micro four thirds.
top and bottom. Yeah.
It is a type, not 1 over. That's what's
It's
it
just
is
type
type 1.4,
yeah.
which it's definitely a head scratcher for me. But very cool.
So made for video, I mean, it's shooting like C-Log 3. I mean, it's got lots of new features. No,
I don't like C-Log 3, but you're not going to get more DR than that on a smaller chip.
But built-in ND filter is really cool.
The focal length is really nice.
16 to 50.
Yeah, like having a true ultra wide in that. Vloggers will love it. Means you can put on electronic image stabilization and still have a true wide.
Now
Jaron
people,
and I, our legs are going to touch, and we're going to be cool with it.
That is your foot.
No, we're going to be cool with it because we're going to be here for a while.
Now, clearly, this is, I mean...
Oh, it is a built-in 3-stop physical ND too.
Yes, I said that.
Did you?
I did.
I apologize.
That's okay.
Distracted by touching his foot.
I could see that. He's got amazing calves.
I'd say there was
don't spit all over your computer. Jeez.
I'd say there was no stop when Jaron's foot was moving towards my foot and leg.
I don't know. Maybe I'll just leave. Maybe I'll just. If I could, I would jump right out that window. But the crack is.
So SD card, the UHS 2 SD card slot, USB, and HDMI ports on this thing. So
here's the thing. Like, there's a huge craze for compact point and shoot cameras. I'm going to go ahead and say, like, this is awesome. It doesn't really scratch the itch for those folks, right? I mean, we don't have a pop-up flash or anything like that. We don't have a built-in flash. There's no 1650. A lot of people like, but for a lot of photography, it's not very general purpose. This is primarily made for vlogging and video, I think.
It's for video creation exclusively. Now, the thing is, like, I know that a ton of those are not ARCS one, ZV 10s, the little guys have been selling like crazy. But in the meantime, the DJI Pocket 3 has come out, which I think is eating up a huge amount of this market. So Canon's being cautious with this. I bet it's tied to, they said, like, look, we don't have the means of making a bunch of compact cameras right now. They're testing it in Asia first, and then I think if it pops, then I just noticed those paper cranes. Those were left here?
Yeah, on the table.
They put them.
What a great country.
On the note of this release schedule, so it's only being released in a few Asian countries, like announced for them. So the Canon USA didn't actually get us any of this information, or they didn't provide. They're not doing any coverage for this because it's not in the US. It's Japan, Korea, Hong Kong, China, and Taiwan. But our guess is it's because they wanted to have something at CP+. I think Canon didn't originally have a plan to have anything special there, and then they got wind that other people were going to have stuff there and felt like, well, we can't have nothing. So they pushed this to be, we should see it on the floor. Our goal is to go at least touch it and see how it feels. That's what I expect will be there, but it'll be a while before we see this in the United States, so you won't be able to review it for some time, I don't think.
All right. Well, on that sour note, what's our next news story?
So Thypoch, and while I do this, I'm wondering, should we turn this overhead light on?
Oh, I thought it was on. I'll go do that right now.
Yeah, thank you, Chris. So I'm going to load up this story here. Thypoch.
Holy hell.
Yeah, well, that's creating some lovely flickering.
Sure, let me go play with the shutter. Chris, could you play with the shutter speed?
Yeah, I'm going to go play with the shutters.
Yeah, this is only the most professional podcast we've ever made.
I'm thinking 120-degree shutter speed.
You don't know what's good for...
So while Chris adjusts things, and those of you watching this, I am so sorry.
And simultaneously condescends to me.
Yeah, because 120 was a bad idea, but I then chose creatively to do 216 degrees, and it's perfect. So you're welcome, everybody.
All right, so on that note, Thypoch announced the Simera 75 f1.4, and it is an M mount lens, which I'm excited for because I've been shooting an M mount a lot. I'm actually looking at two Thypoch lenses right now, the Eureka and the Simera 28.
They're sexy. They're sexy AF.
So here's the thing. Chris and I were playing with these. I'm reviewing it on film, but I gave Chris this to play with to look at some of the features. He was actually pretty pleased with how these
character.
Looked.
Beautiful sun stars. You know I'm all about the sun stars. But you need one of these. Because you don't have like a portrait telephoto because you hate people is what you said to me.
I don't like taking pictures of people, And here's the thing, Chris, what are you not seeing on this lens design?
So, again, I don't know how many times I have to say it, but when we say something publicly in the camera industry, the manufacturer's like, damn, we better make them happy because, it's PetaPixel. We hate the locking switches on the Thypoch. We hate
It's a nightmare. It's awful.
They're with a passion.
So if for those of you who've never seen them, if you ever focus to infinity on a Thypoch lens, a little switch goes down and locks into a nub and prevents you from moving that again.
Yes.
So you have to push the switch down to come out of infinity, and it's really annoying.
It's really annoying. And there's no way to sort of toggle it on or off or anything. But the next best solution, I guess, rather than give it a toggle, which would have been really nice, is just take it off completely. But I far prefer
the ideal solution, I think.
Far prefer that.
This is already a better lens without what I don't see it. It could be hidden. Maybe they keep hiding it from me.
No, I swear to God.
But it's not in any picture.
Honestly, nothing a Dremel tool couldn't fix.
They're going to put the locking switch inside the lens barrel. So if you accidentally lock it, you have to remove the lens, unclick it in order to keep using it.
You know what? They're giving lots of sample photos. It looks
really
clean.
pretty.
I just feel like, Thypoch is one of these companies that's really kind of impressing with these lenses. Yeah.
They put
and they have character, they're beautifully machined. Beautifully.
I will likely take a look at this specifically, only shooting film.
If I don't get to it first.
Right, or maybe I'll send it to you and then you can send it to me. I don't know. You like that idea?
Yeah, and look, they even have it on a Bessa in their sample photos. Even have it on a Bessa.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. So there you go. But yeah.
Anything to add to the Thypoch, Jordan?
No, it looks really pretty, and
the name is still confusing. Whatever.
Yeah.
All right, so those are the things that happened that are old. Let's talk about some newer news. And we're going to go in the order that they were announced at the show.
Why are we here in Japan with Shigema?
Well, why don't you say?
Oh, but I asked the question.
Oh, okay.
So then you guys, it'd be really rude if I asked the question and answered it.
We're here because we're holding an event to tell us about something. We did not know what it was. They did a spectacular job keeping this under wraps.
Yeah.
I thought it was very funny how all the rumors who were so confident in themselves were all very wrong.
And Jaron also was very confident in those said rumors.
I was confident in those rumors.
You thought we would have a Foveon.
So they all said that, but I said we were going to... So when I first heard that we were doing an event here in Japan, I said, there's no chance it's not a camera. You guys were both like, I don't think so. Agree? You said you didn't think it was a camera.
It's on record. It is on the podcast, saying that.
You said, I don't think so. And I said later, it's like, I bet it's Foveon, but I'm for sure it's a camera. So I was ready to be really smug.
Right.
I can only be partially smug because it was indeed a camera. So we'll get there last. The first thing the company announced was an APS-C with a 16 to 300 millimeter 3567 all-in-one for APS-C.
I have been shooting the poop out of this lens today because, again, I don't sleep on these trips. So I'm basically like a photographic vampire, sucking the blood through the lens of the victims that I find on the street. And I was up at 4, and walking around with it. And I like it. I mean, Tamron's been owning this sort of, super travel zoom market.
Yeah, Sigma used to play in this field in the DSLR days. They don't anymore.
Sigma has an 18 to 300 that's slightly different. That was announced like 3.5 years ago.
Yes.
So it does. Yes, it does. I can guarantee. I looked it up.
What?
Yeah.
Was it like an actual mirrorless
It's
specific?
An 18 to 300, 3.5 to 6.3. Here, let me open up this so you can see that
this is a little bit slower.
What?
Yeah.
No, that's the Tamron.
That's what I said.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought you said Sigma brought out.
You said Shigema as well.
Oh, I'm sorry. If I said Sigma, which is definitely going to be on record, if it's Tamron.
I'm so sorry.
Tamron has
Tamron
this.
made, yes, which supports the thing that we said earlier. That Tamron's owning that.
Look, they gave me alcohol. I'm not sleeping well.
But you know what? This gives you a 24 mil full frame equivalent because it is for APS-C up to 450 millimeters. It is slow. That's just the name of the game here, but. It's like all Sigma's. I screwed it up. It's like all Sigma's contemporary lenses. Lightweight, fairly well sealed. Very simple. We don't have a lot of controls on there or anything. But really, really useful for obviously like today.
Well, starting with a true ultra wide is really compelling. I think.
Yeah,
I think that's key. And the other one that surprised me was the macro.
Yeah, it does. So, and I got some time to play with it. At 70 millimeters, it does 1 to 2 life-size reproduction, but you have to mash that lens right into it. Like whatever you're shooting, it will transmit bacteria to your lens. Like whatever it is. If it's wet, your lens will be wet. But it looks like it's pretty good detail. You certainly can get close. You want that versatility for travel. So far so good. Focus is fast.
Because it's APS-C, the number of mounts that it's available for is quite a few.
Yeah.
L mount, Sony E mount, Fujifilm X mount, and Canon RF mount, and it's going to be $699, and it'll be here in April.
But again, we got to review it. So this is just the tech specs. We got to review it and see if it's any good.
I just want to say, like, how many times are we going to see Sigma drop an APS-C L mount lens when there hasn't been an APS-C L mount camera now for like 8 years? Well, there's old Leicas, which are all discontinued at this point. Like, something has to be coming. It's so weird. They keep. I'm sure they produce like one to show.
It's probably special order.
Yeah. But
at least someone's making APS-C glass right now. Like, everybody else has dropped the ball on this. So, I mean, obviously Fujifilm, no, but they don't really make a super zoom like this.
I think it was a week ago or maybe more. There was a story that came out of like where the breakdown of all the equipment manufacturers are selling, and APS-C is way down there. Like, it is not moving. It's all full frame or point, and like, well, it would be point and shoots if they made them. But like, this is probably why like APS-C is just not moving the needle for Canon very much.
Right.
So like, why make lenses? They'll let Sigma do it there, but there's just not a lot of money to be made.
Yeah. No. I mean, hey, I'm all for it. Fantastic. Great travel lens, but we got to test it. There's other stuff to talk about.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I don't want to try and do reviews at this point because those are coming. But yes, let's keep going through the news.
The next one,
arguably the most exciting.
Yeah, I
product.
think that it's funny because it got overshadowed by the announcement that came after. But I think this will have a longer lasting impact. Sigma's 300 to 600 f4 DGOS Sports is an enormous lens for what is it, $6,000?
Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah,
Yes.
that price is shocking.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to put the scare in. I mean, if you had like the Sony 300mm and 600mm G Masters, I'd be like, whoa, yikes.
Yeah, so
SellOnKH.com, which is PetaPixel's preferred pre-owned camera gear partner, by the way. Official, yes.
so we looked at the math. The 600 millimeter from Sony, you can buy for what, like $13,000 right now?
Yeah, 13,000.
Just over double.
There's no chance that this is half as good as that.
You're saying it will be well above half as good as that. So yeah, price versus performance, yes.
And you get 300 through 600.
Yes.
So it just seems like if there was ever a chance that Sony was going to lift the 15 frame per second limit,
no, they're not going to do it. No.
They saw this announcement and was absolutely that shut down any chance.
This might make an iconic Canon never open their full frame out.
This is essentially like Canon is like wiping their brow. Like, good thing we didn't give them full frame access because holy crap, no one would buy our optics.
I'm sure it will be sharp. I'm sure it will be good. It's heavy. It's 2 knocks. And, you know, they say like it's unlimited hand holdability. And maybe if you're like in shape like Yamaki-san, but I'm going to monopod this, I think.
Yeah, you were just hefting it a second ago.
Yeah, propping against the window,
taking
ramming
4 photos and then sitting down.
That's how you're supposed to use this lens. Or shoot it while sitting down.
What did Jeremy say? Jeremy said that it weighs the same as a 600 with a small pineapple attached to the front.
The best piece of writing to come out all week. Well done, Jeremy.
We're going to play with it. We're going to test it.
I'm like what I'm saying is what I said before. Like, it's not possible for it to only be half as good. It has to be excellent. Sigma doesn't release bad lenses anymore.
He's hurt my back.
So like, maybe you can see it out here. Chris,
hurt my back.
It's probably out of frame. It's so big. There's one thing about this that I wanted to point out that I thought was really cool is the declickable detents. It's on the back of the foot. You can declick those if you don't want them.
Look at that. That is
so
smooth,
cool.
Smooth, and then on. And like, I asked for this. Gordon Lang asks for this. And now it's here. Brilliant.
The other thing that you can do is they have the Arca Swiss cutouts on the foot, which should be the default. And then Sigma's like, if you don't want that, all 6 of you who care enough about that you just don't want to see Arca Swiss, they make one that's not Arca Swiss.
Yeah.
And you can have it replaced.
Weirdos.
Yeah, like I don't get that, but sure.
I was gonna review it, but I just hurt my back, so I'm never touching it again. We'll play with it. We'll test it out when we can. The only thing I really want to point out, because we don't want to get too far into the gear, text and stuff, but what is interesting, and this will be a segue into the next thing here, Sigma is going in this whole new direction. Shigawa is going in this whole different direction with their products, and they've changed the font. They're going back to old school serif, and I think it's cool, and it's very interesting. They've changed their logo. This is pretty sweet.
Yeah, I guess I should have done this first before anything, because he did lead with this, is that he kind of wanted to talk about a new brand initiative for the company. These letters in this are lightly serifed, and it looks like kind of a sweet spot middle zone between the rebrand that he did when they released the art series and what he inherited from his father. It's sort of in between those. It's not as old school looking as the last logo.
But it still reminded me, the logo's like totally new, but the font reminds me of the Shigema lenses from like 20 years ago.
Yeah. But it's a little better, a little more refined.
And the packaging now looks like you're buying a fancy shirt.
Yeah, so what might not have been obvious is like what the boxes look like when they ship stuff. Like Sigma made some nice boxes.
Dude, they're classy.
They're colored. They have nice colored paper. You can tell the paper is nice quality. I mean,
Does Leica have competition now for best camera packaging?
Is that what it is? Has Sigma just decided like we're going to destroy Canon and we're going to become like a preeminent lens manufacturer
Done.
in the mirrorless realm, and now they're like next target Leica.
Yeah.
And then next target Thypoch.
I would go to the Sigma Hotel when they inevitably make one in Sigma Square in Aizu. That'd be great.
But this all leads us to the last product.
Yeah, something that all of you were very much interested in.
We're not gonna tease that yet, though, are we?
Yeah, no, I already wrote the story.
Oh, you did.
I wrote it. I got to write it.
Too late.
Okay. Anyway, so they announced the BF, which is a radically simple, their words, 24.6 megapixel full frame compact camera, and it is a rectangle of aluminum,
just an aluminum billet machine for 7 hours into a. Still looks like an aluminum billet, actually.
It doesn't look like it would be comfortable to hold, and that seems to be like the main thing I'm seeing is like, how are you holding this? Chris, how do you feel about this? The man who has hated every Sigma's form factor to this point.
Only because most Sigma cameras up to this point have felt like squeezing tightly onto it like a sea urchin, uni, or like a cacti. But this one is, as brick-like as it is very comfortable to hold while shooting. It's got a really nice thumb grip. The texture on the front is not only sexy looking, but actually very functional.
It really holds on.
Yeah. You can't see it on camera, but I got a little cut on my nose here. That's from accidentally bringing the camera up to my eye to shoot because the edges are sharp.
Is that true?
No,
no way.
No, that's not true. I'm just making
You do have a cut on your nose.
I know. And I did bring the camera up to my eye a few times hoping for an EVF. It does not have an EVF. I don't know what to tell you. I'm gonna put an old school Hoodman on this LCD panel. But anyways. Do you
have any thoughts on this, Jordan?
Yeah, I mean, the big thing is the interface is completely rethought from everything that they've done, and we know that takes a lot of time.
Done.
Yeah, exactly. It is very, very simple. I actually found it quite intuitive, but I've spent by far the least time with this camera of the three of you because I went to bed last night after we got it.
I have spent quite a bit of time now with the interface. I feel like I've got a good handle on it, and I'm not sold. Anyways, I don't want to give away too much. We are reviewing this camera right now, and I got to play with it more, but it is radically simple. The question I'm left with is it too simple? Stripped down, minimal, these are all interesting things, I get it, but is it too stripped down and too minimalistic?
Well, I think the one thing, again, not to go into the topic of a review, is you have to understand this is just electronic shutter use. So what's really hot right now does seem to be flash photography, which is not going to be an option with this camera. There's not even a shoe on it.
No flash, no hot shoe, nothing.
It doesn't communicate wirelessly with anything either. That is an interesting choice.
Yeah.
There's no Bluetooth, there's no Wi-Fi. You plug it in. We haven't figured out what to do with it, but if you plug it into an iPhone, like the iPhone recognizes it as an SSD, but it can't do anything with that.
We were able to save ProRes iPhone video onto the camera.
I have no idea. Yeah, I'm gonna have to look at it.
It didn't play it back. The iPhone said that it did it, but we couldn't see it through the interface.
The thing that cannot be expressed through the photos that I think is important is, it is classy. It is it's as sexy as 23-year-old Jaren in a yukata. So yeah, dude, it is sexy. It looks good. It feels good. It's very refined. I mean, it has the prestige of, well, we mentioned like a Leica. It kind of has that same prestige as far as the build quality and the feel. So.
And it is, as many people have pointed out, very reminiscent of the Leica T when Leica tried to do
Leica
this
TLs,
and eventually discontinued that series, which was very simplified, streamlined,
I like
built
that
of
camera.
one chunk. And you did like that camera.
Yep.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Another thing worth noting, if you didn't know this about it, Sigma is re-releasing its I series with some refinements done to it with their new branding, as well as its silver and black versions that perfectly match the metals that are used and the colors that are used on both the silver and black versions of the BF. So I've seen the silver on silver. It looks
hot.
Sick. You put a gross Lumix black lens on there. It looks terrible.
I did. I put the black Panasonics. I brought the I series.
Doesn't look good.
It's Panda. Everybody likes Panda.
It just looks really bad.
Okay, whatever.
Sorry, the Panasonics, or you said the I series? You mean the Sigma I series?
Yeah. Even mixing the colors from those is bad. I saw someone else had taken a Panasonic lens and put it on there. And it looked
it didn't look good, but it might be the answer. I mean,
there's no image stabilization in the I series or this camera.
Yes. We're going too far.
No.
You're going to want to watch the review.
I'm not saying this is not review stuff. That's just simple facts. Those are things that are not in there. I'm not telling you how I feel about that. That's just factual.
All right.
Okay. Did you guys know what BF stands for?
Put a Panasonic 50mm f1.8 on there. Everybody will make fun of you.
I was floored by this. I kind of stifled a giggle behind the camera.
So, on that note, that's an excellent thing. If you want to know what BF stands for, well, Kazuto Yamaki is going to tell Chris about it
in our interview.
This interview, which we'll cut to now.
Yamaki-san, thank you so much for joining us. I know you're a busy man. You've made time for us. I really appreciate it very much.
Thank you, Rich, for having me.
And, I think back about it. The last time that we were together in person was 10 years ago.
10 years.
Hi, Photokina 2014.
Wow.
So I interviewed you at that time as well. So it's great to come back full circle to have you in front of me again.
Time flies.
It does. It does. You look fantastic.
Thank you so much. Although I have lots of gray hair.
Mine too. I think we have that in common. But thank you for making time. Congratulations again on the product launch. Very exciting products.
Thank you, man.
And if I may, I would love to ask you some questions about those. So, first off, this camera is quite unique, right? A very different direction. Can you tell us about the development of this camera? What was special about it, and what direction Sigma's could go now with this new venture?
Well, on the market today, there are many fantastic cameras. I love those cameras, and I use some of them. But at the same time, with the improvement in image quality of smartphones, people start using more and more smartphones, and those digital cameras are becoming kind of special device for certain type of occasions, like sports photography or wildlife. And the significance of the camera as a daily use camera is a little bit declining, I felt. So, but I also knew that many people are interested in camera, but some of them, not all, but some of them can't find the right camera for them. So we try to develop the camera for those who are looking for that kind of.
Do you think that there's a market for new photographers that want an alternative to the more advanced cameras that we normally use?
I hope the existing camera enthusiast photographers love this camera. They may not use this camera for maybe wildlife or sports, but they also use camera, for example, to their time or weekend, take pictures casually. I hope they like this camera in that occasion. Of course, I also expect some other new type of customers who are interested in photography, but have not had the camera yet.
So the kind of camera that you can carry around with you all the time, it's beautiful. I think the first thing that people notice, it's a very beautiful design, very sleek design, but very different from what you've normally made.
Yeah,
right?
Different.
Yeah, I noticed the font is a return to a classic style. Can you talk about why you decided to do that?
Well, I thought we need to show our serious commitment to the brand's direction moving forward. We always appreciate that photographers and image makers support us. And in order to survive in this industry, we have to express our sincere appreciation to our customers, photographers, image makers. And just to show our commitment, we decided to renew our brand visualization, even including the logo.
Yeah, the new logo is beautiful. Yeah, very exciting, very classy. Good. This camera market that we're in today, it's exceptionally competitive, right? Many different options, as you mentioned. What about your new camera do you think is really going to stand out to a prospective buyer? And why should somebody pick a Sigma in 2025?
First of all, I like those who are looking for the simple, easiest camera to use, like this camera. I know that there are many people who are looking for that kind of a camera. Simple, minimal, and easy to use. But this is just one type of products we will make. We will also make camera and lenses, which in line with the kind of mainstream, the typical cameras for serious users. Yes.
Yeah.
So we have a relatively big engineers and company, and they are working on the different type of projects.
How much does the new BF camera? First off, what does BF stand for?
BF stands for beautiful foolishness. Oh, this is a word taken from the book, the very old book, maybe I think probably over 100 years. The book, the title of the book is called Book of Tea, written by Tenshin Okakura, the Japanese researcher. At that time, he wanted to tell the spirit of the Japanese culture, and we have the tea ceremony. And through the tea ceremony, he tried to tell what is the essence of the Japanese culture. And in the book, he said, "Let's enjoy the time and the beautiful foolishness with a cup of tea." So this camera is for the daily use. Right. So daily life is full of joy and nice relaxed time. So he calls it the beautiful foolishness.
Wow, it's a beautiful story. How does this differentiate from the FP series? I mean, how much does it borrow from the FP series? And how do you see those two lines coexisting going forward?
From form factor point of view, it's similar. It's very compact, simple. But the FP is quite configurable. You can put many accessories to form your own style. BF is that's it.
Very simple. Yes.
We hope this camera have a kind of. I hoped this camera have a kind of timeless value.
Whoa. Why does Sigma continue to make cameras that are very different in design? I mean, I of course, for many, many years now, your cameras have always been different from the mainstream. Is that something that you want to keep continuing going forward? Do you ever see Sigma making a very mainstream camera as well?
Well, this camera use the regular Bayer sensor.
Yes.
So there are many cameras that use a Bayer sensor.
Yes.
And I think that's almost enough for people to choose. So I think it's Sigma's mission to provide something different from others. Of course, my dream in the future is to make a very serious camera.
Oh, interesting.
Which can be used with this type of camera lens. But right now, probably people expect Sigma something different from others. So this is just one of the ideas we have. But in the future, I'd like to make a very serious camera.
Many people are talking about the future of Foveon. I know that was rumored quite highly. Can you speak a little bit about how you see that?
Yes, we are still working on it. We have the project team who's been working on this project. Unfortunately, it's been taking more time, much more time than we expected. And it's delayed, because every time we make a prototype, we find some technical issues. Right. But we are making progress little by little. And because we already promised to deliver the product with the Foveon sensor.
I'm still committed to that.
We will do our best to provide the best.
That's all we can ask. So this is, of course, a gorgeous lens, the 300 to 600, clearly made for professional work. I think it's going to put a lot of pressure on companies like Sony, for example. So I want to ask you, how do you first off feel about the limitation that Sony puts on the frame rates? Because this is going to be used for sports, action, and wildlife. Is that something that you can change? Is it something that they have to change?
Well, it's difficult for me to make comment, but I know that the customers are truly wishing for us to implement it. So we'd like to do our best.
Yes. How about the difficulty or the nature, I suppose, of Canon and their full frame limitation, how they don't want to have, any third-party support, and Nikon Z mount? Can you speak about that? And because I think a lot of Nikon users, a lot of Canon users, I know would love to have a lens like this as well for their camera bodies.
Yes. If I were Canon user or Nikon user, I love to try this. It's difficult for me to make comment today, but in the future, I hope this lens can be delivered to all camera enthusiasts, especially wildlife, sports, aviation. They should love it.
We also have this lens here. This is beautiful. I know Jordan, he saw this lens and he was very excited about it, visually excited about it. There's a demand for cinema optimized versions of your lenses. And can you speak about this? I mean, this is beautiful. This current cinema lens here, the 28 to 45 f2. Can you tell us a little bit about this?
Yes, this is a dehoused cine lens. We have the 28 to 45 f1.8 zoom lens. Of course, it has an autofocus function. Right. It's for L mount and Sony E mount. But there are two things. First of all, I noticed that many videographers or cinematographers start using the E mount. Of course, L mount too. That would mean the short plunge back mirrorless system. And so I thought there is an opportunity. And also, these days, many of them, videographers and cinematographers, use to shoot the film with a single operation. So in this case, autofocus is very important. But of course, depending on the location, they can use this lens as a serious cinema lens.
So we can expect to see something like this quite soon?
Yep, this is just prototype, which we had announced at the last IBC in Amsterdam in 2024. But we are now working on the final version of this lens, and we will release this lens sometimes in this year.
I know Jordan will be very excited about that. Of course, analog photography is very popular right now. And there's a big craze. Does that influence the way that you design cameras? Is the BF sort of borrowing some of that heritage or designed for photographers that want that more analog style of photography?
Well, we will probably not make a film camera, but such a customers' demand or trend inspires us a lot.
Okay.
The customers are looking for something new, something exciting, which is different from the mainstream camera and lenses today. So, always customers or users are quite inspiring to us.
Very important, yeah. Is there a lens design that you personally would like to see Sigma make that you have not made yet?
I have.
Oh, okay. So something is coming.
Of course. We are preparing some more new lenses this year, so I'm truly excited to announce those lenses.
Maybe I'll ask a different question then. What kind of lens do you find very interesting, yourself personally?
Personally, actually, I like prime lenses. I'm a prime lens guy. I really like, today I use only 35. Today I only use 50. Wow. And I try to see the subject with that composition. That's the reason why it took time for us to introduce the all-in-one zoom lens. We announced today, but we didn't have it in just my personal idea. But I know that many people needs those all-in-one lens. So I'm very happy and confident that this lens will be well received by our customer.
Absolutely. I'm very excited to try both the travel zoom and the telephoto. Absolutely, yeah. Is the BF then a similar idea of being very simple, maybe a limitation that you accept as a way to be more creative when you're shooting? Does that make sense?
I think I personally like a simple, minimal, something that has a limitation, but it stimulates our creativities.
Absolutely. So with all the volatility in the market, many places you could produce lenses, Sigma's still committed to making everything here in Aizu, Japan. Is that correct?
What?
How then, because this lens looks very beautiful, it's very well designed. it should be very expensive. How do you keep the cost so reasonable? Because I think that $6,000 price tag is something that's very appealing and grabs a lot of attention. How is that possible?
We have the philosophy of big factory, small office. So we make it a very simple organization. We have very little sales team, marketing team, and administration team. Actually, they are always complaining. They need more people. But we try to keep the organization small, and we have a relatively big engineering team and the factory. That way, we try to reduce the cost, the total cost, and try to deliver the high quality products as reasonable as possible.
And is keeping the production all in Aizu, Japan still something you're very committed to? Yeah.
As I presented today, Sigma is still a family-owned company. So protecting the employees' job is very important. Probably one of the highest priority for me as a CEO of the company and the owner of the company. So if we offshore the factory, probably we need to reduce the number of the employees or lay off some people, which I never want to do it. But also, the people in Aizu work very hard, very diligent. So it makes every sense for us to keep the production site in Aizu and make the high quality products.
Something I think we've talked about quite a bit, not only on the podcast, but on our reviews and with our fellow peers in the business, is Sigma seems to have become a very preeminent lens manufacturer. What is it that you're most proud of with the achievements that the corporation has made?
I mean, achievement in the past?
Or even today, bringing the company to this point where you have lenses that professionals prefer to use over even original manufacturer's glass. Where does that come from? What do you think is the most important thing that makes that possible?
Well, maybe not only one. There are multiple factors. Of course, my father's philosophy for the company and making products. But also, we are very fortunate to have a very talented engineers and very diligent hard workers in the factory. They truly understand the situation of the company and work for the company with serious attitude. So I always appreciate their support.
Now, I think it's become a fantastic lens manufacturer, and thank you so much for taking this time. I know you're very busy, but I appreciate it. It was great to see you again.
Thank you so much.
Thank you much for giving this interview.
Thank you very much.
I wish you all the success in the future.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
First thing, I said in the interview as well, but it was really gracious of Yamaki-san to give me that time to interview him. It is hilarious that it's been a decade since we've seen each other in person. And it was, again, for an interview at Photokina, which, again, I mentioned in the interview, but I think that was cool. So it was really nice to see him. He's super gracious, even though he's so busy. So thank you again to Yamaki-san for giving us that insight. It was very, very useful.
Beautiful foolishness.
Beautiful foolishness, yeah. Yeah. A very interesting intention. I mean, one thing you can say about Kazuto is he's going to make cameras that he wants, and he doesn't seem to give a flying frog leg about what anybody else thinks. So fair enough.
I think what I used to think up until this point that he was doing cameras because he was doing it for his dad. And that was like, we've made the joke before. Yeah. He's afraid his dad's going to haunt him if he doesn't make cameras.
Yeah.
After seeing him yesterday, I'm more convinced
he's just a mad scientist.
That he's doing.
He's a mad scientist.
He wants to.
Yeah.
He's just having fun. The other thing that's fun to think about too is what will Sigma do when they make that enthusiast camera, the one that actually
they'll have to find a way to make it so weird in some way.
He wants to make something like you have to remember. Yes,
it's gonna be a BF with a command dial. He's gonna with twin command dials. He's gonna call it a BF1. That's what it's gonna be. It's like, this is our serious camera. Like
he specifically pointed to this lens. He's like, I want to make a camera that can use this lens well. And so that makes you think. He didn't give a timeline, of course. And the last thing that I kind of wanted to loop back to is the Foveon conversation.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. He definitely wants to do it because he promised to, but he stopped short of saying for sure it was going to happen.
He gave us a little bit of insight. I mean, that's kind of between us. Like, you know, he nothing's definite, nothing's for sure. But I guess suffice to say, it's still a passion project, and they are working on it. So who knows?
I left that interview so skeptical that it's ever going to see the light of day. Is my takeaway.
All right. What have we been up to,
Jordan?
So we can now talk about this since, I mean, one of the other news stories is Panasonic released a banger of a hybrid camera over the last little while, and I was gone last week, so I wasn't able to talk about it. So 2 weeks ago, we froze our asses off in Norway, like just sideways rain. There's some of the worst conditions that we've ever had.
The weather did not cooperate.
Like we've been in colder, more, but the variety of inclement weather was really something.
It was a real torture test for the weather sealing on a Panasonic. I've never put a Panasonic flagship camera through that kind of abuse, and it was fine.
Made it, yeah.
So I mean, they are weather sealed because that liquid was coming in like sideways and upside down. It was the rain was falling, getting caught by Nordic winds, blown back up into the underside of the camera, and it still had no problem. So it was nuts. It was a 2-day trip. It was a rolling trip. We spent like 26 hours to get there, 26 hours to get back, and 48 hours in country. Yeah. But hey, I mean, we appreciate it. It was great to see everybody.
I do want to sidebar. We saw our good friend Tom there, who's on the podcast previously, who brought out his new prototype. The video for this is now live. So if you want to see what someone can do with a 3D printer and a little imagination, we'll put the link in the description below. Chris and I are in that video.
I'll go ahead and say that's the feel-good story of the week.
Tom made everybody touch his peen hole, and
I just don't like it when you say that.
Well, that's what it was.
I understand that. I just don't like the words when they come out of your mouth.
We all have one.
It just made me want to quit the podcast, to be honest.
I don't like it. All right, so we don't have. We didn't get a chance to go do as many of the questions, tech support as we typically do, but I have a few in here. I received an email from Jerry, and I just want to read it. It says, Jaron, just wanted to say thank you to you, Chris and Jordan, for the podcast, and of course, want to say thank you to you and the rest of the larger PetaPixel team for this website. I have followed Chris and Jordan's YouTube content for many years, and there was a short...
I'm sorry.
I was actually going to apologize myself. I'm sorry for Jordan.
There was a short period of time several years ago when I'd listened to previous versions of the PetaPixel podcast, I think with Sharky. Yes.
Yep.
I'm just your everyday family guy, married, 2 awesome kids, job, etc., who developed an interest in photography about 15 years ago when I wanted to capture the special moments of my kids growing up. There is so much negativity and vitriol in the world right now. I wanted to let you all know that there are people out here who really enjoy your content and appreciate the work you do. I'm a proud subscriber of the podcast and a PetaPixel member. You rock. Thank you very much.
I'm clapping away from the mic.
Wow.
But you get a Kid Street clap. You're Canadian if you know what that is.
Jordan and Chris, and sometimes great guests like Ted last week, keep me company on my commute to and from work on Thursdays. All that is to say, thank you. And please feel free to share this note with these guys. I did better. I read it live on the podcast.
That actually pepped me up, quite literally. Yeah, I feel better than I did 5 minutes ago.
He was about ready to pass out. So thank you, Jerry. Thank you for keeping him going.
The next one is an email from Valerie, and this is for you, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
Having watched your stuff with DP Review for years...
That's the best word for it.
Yeah, it is stuff. Yeah.
I've moved to PetaPixel with you.
Thank you, Valerie. I appreciate that.
Kid Street clap for you as well.
Question. I've been using an ISO EV2335W monitor.
It's a high-end monitor
that I bought used many years ago, and I'm still happy with it. I bought a crappy used Dell screen to make a second screen setup.
Okay.
I like the adjustable screen heights because I need to be careful about ergonomics. I've considered a screen calibrator but never made the dive yet. I need to replace the old Dell. Do I need to buy a new main screen too? I mainly want a monitor. I mainly want a monitor that look close to what a print would look like, so I'm not looking for dazzling colors, just resolution and good color rendition. I've invested so much money in photography. I'm not keen to spend tons, but I could justify $1,000. Can you give me some advice?
So yeah, I don't have any monitor suggestions for you particularly, Val. I mean, as far as brands go, Dell do make nice monitors, absolutely. ISOs are very nice, and I think Jordan, you had one that you really liked recently. But before you get into that, what I do want to say though is when it comes to printing, I would definitely spend the money on a printer calibration system, or at least a monitor calibration system. You're never going to get a monitor to look exactly like a print, okay? But it's important to have a monitor calibrated so that you know the color is going to be accurate, the contrast is going to be accurate, and get as close as rendition as you can to the actual print itself. And in that regard, what a lot of people are surprised by is when you actually calibrate your monitor properly to match prints, your monitor contrast and exposure brightness go way down.
Yeah.
Modern monitors are capable of way more vividness and brightness than a print will ever achieve. And so you actually don't want or need like an HDR capable monitor, nothing like that. You want good resolution, you want good color accuracy, you want it to last you a long time. They will drift over time, but even then, as you recalibrate the monitor, it just brings those all back in line. So yeah, do you have any suggestions you like?
Well, I wasn't going to go to a specific monitor because I was going to absolutely agree with you. If you care about just accuracy of the print, use your existing monitor calibrated. I think that's the best option.
Yeah. Printer calibration software is fantastic and very important. I don't necessarily, so just again, to go on top of this, it's never going to look exactly the same, Valerie. It's going to be close, and then you'll kind of work out a system that works for you. I use TLAR basically when I'm doing that, or when I did do printing back in the day. And TLAR works pretty well, but you want to have a good starting point. So, important thing, there is monitor calibration, which is very useful. There is printer calibration where you can actually do test prints and make custom printer profiles. That's awesome, but it's pretty serious. It's pretty in-depth. I don't know many people that necessarily need to do that.
And it drifts.
Yeah. I would say, and that's for if you want to calibrate all the different paper types you're going to use. So do the monitor and then use TLAR beyond that.
Okay. The next one is an email from Wolfgang. Dear PetaPixel team.
Amadeus?
Yeah.
Doubtful. I love to shoot targets in motion, which might even be in fast action. This could be wildlife, sports, but also events. Even if the movement of my target may not always be totally erratic and hectic, which often separates a keeper from a missed shot, is the hit rate of the autofocus and subject tracking is critical. Many photos will benefit from being shot wide open.
Don't fall asleep, Jordan.
Which again stresses the autofocus capabilities of the camera.
I stifled that yawn.
And I am in the Nikon camp, and I feel happy there. I do not own, and for weight-saving reasons, will not consider acquiring a flagship. Against that background, here comes my questions. All other things and settings, camera, light, f-stop, shutter, etc., considered equal, what impact does the lens use have in these situations to ensure the best possible focusing? Is there a general rule which type of lens might be capable of fast and accurate photo acquisition? I understand that a macro lens is optimized for very accurate close focusing and short distance to the subject, but are there other principles which might serve as guidance when looking for a quick focus acquisition lens? He tends to use primes more recently, but feels that zooms sometimes allow faster focusing. Is the difference in the focus accuracy due to the smaller aperture? Or I really admire your work, and I'm looking forward to listening to your views on this.
So yeah, there's a couple things. The main aspects you want to have in a lens to ensure proper and quick focusing accuracy is going to be brighter apertures do let more light into the camera, and more light does give you better advantages when it comes to acquiring focus, maintaining focus, especially in low light situations. That being said, a lot of modern cameras are very good even when they're not given a lot of light. The other thing that's very important is what focusing motor does the lens have. Most high-end lenses tend to have linear motors. You'll hear that a lot. Linear motors do tend to drive lens elements a little bit faster. Some serious professional wildlife lenses will have multiple linear motors in them, but they're also pushing really big glass elements. And there's plenty of stepping motors which can drive a lens really fast, especially if it's like a lighter prime that has smaller glass elements. So I would say we're kind of spoiled nowadays. Most modern lenses, they focus pretty quick. I mean, we do these tests when we review lenses and they're usually pretty good. But yeah, more light is good. Faster motors are good if you're doing some serious wildlife stuff.
Yeah, I think like the tests that we do are very simple to check yourself.
Yeah.
Just going, close focus to infinity very quickly. And you will find if you're looking to test older motor types, like especially like Canon's USMs, things like that, that they can actually overshoot a little bit. They're very quick point to point, but when you're trying to follow a subject, they will overshoot on that. That's why those new linear motors are so good. Mm-hmm. So for that, I would actually focus from minimum to a midpoint and make sure that it's actually hitting the focus. When you do that, is a really good test.
Now, obviously the body plays a big part as well. More advanced bodies, bodies that are designed. I know you don't want to go flagship because it's heavy, but those cameras tend to have very good algorithms. The scan rate of the sensor also plays a part. Faster scanning sensors, stack sensors tend to be able to make more autofocus calculations per second. That really helps. And then there are certain lenses that are, again, usually made for sports, action, and wildlife that'll even limit the focus with a focus limiter, so you can force the lens to only work within a certain range. And that's also excellent for handling those situations. So it's not an easy answer. There's a lot of stuff that goes in. And this is partly why when people buy lenses made for these things, they're expensive.
Typically.
Yeah, it's $6,000 for a 3 to 600.
Sigma!
Last one is an email from Cyril. I am stunned today as I learned that many Nikon Z lenses are incompatible with mechanical shutters. We're talking here about the likes of the 400-4.5, the 24-120 f4, the 135-1.8, the 70-180 2.8 on the Z6 III and most DX lenses. According to a member of a forum he was on, Nikon replied to another member that this is deliberate.
Yep.
Are you aware of this issue? Is it a bug? Could it be fixed with firmware? What on earth could be the reason? Thanks, gentlemen, and congrats all your works, your video, your info, and your podcast and everything.
I think it's worth pointing out there was a delay with this because we've been using Z9s and Z8s a lot when we're reviewing products.
Yep.
So yeah, when we're testing bokeh and everything like that, electronic shutter is not going to impact the look of your bokeh in any meaningful way, and it doesn't have a mechanical shutter, so we didn't have to think about it.
Yep.
And then the Z6 III showed up, and we're like, what in the hell is going on? So what did Nikon say, Chris?
Well, and this is it a dig against Nikon? I don't know. Look, they could have actually said, by the way, as you know, like this is a thing, as opposed to, oh yeah, you found that out.
Oh,
yeah,
they figured it out.
Look, I mean, okay, it's not a big deal. So what's happening technically is a lot of the lenses, the modern lenses, mostly the ones that go to a telephoto range, but not always, the camera will go from the mechanical shutter to electronic first curtain shutter. Not full electronic shutter, electronic first curtain shutter. The electronic first curtain shutters are good in that they don't use the first stage of the mechanical shutter, which prevents a lot of the slap that can happen, the minute slap that can happen when that first curtain opens up. And that can actually cause a little bit of shake. This is very important for things like long exposure photography and stuff like that. And what they were finding is with a lot of their telephoto lenses, that little bit of shake can cause some problems to sharpness. So they decided, let's just force electronic first curtain shutter when we're using those lenses. That'll eliminate any issues as far as camera shake from the shutter. Obviously, if you use electronic shutter full, that's a moot point. There's no problems there. There's no movement whatsoever. And EFC doesn't really have a downside when it comes to the lenses that we're talking about. If you use really bright apertured, shallow depth of field lenses at fast shutter speeds with EFC, you'll sometimes get funny looking bokeh where it looks truncated. That's not really going to be an issue on these lenses where we're not dealing with, 1.2 and 1.4 apertures, and we're not really going to get shallow depth of field.
I can tell you there is one exception. Do you know what that is, Chris?
I don't. What is the one exception?
It is the 85-1.2, which is a lens designed for beautiful bokeh.
And that's
weird. So you got to buy a Z8 or a Z9, or just
go.
If you have the Z6 III, shoot it an electronic shutter with that lens. But again, it just seems like a weird oversight because you might want to use, say, if you're shooting a studio portrait, like your 250th mechanical sync speed on that.
Yeah.
And you're not going to be able to with that. So that's the weird one.
You know what, though?
That's the outlier.
Shoot electronic shutter mode. You'll be fine. Especially if you're in the studio.
Unless you have a Z6 II or Z7 II. Anyway.
Yeah, the way But it is deliberate. It is on purpose. It's not a defect. It's nothing they're going to fix with firmware. Just the way it is.
Okay. I did not know that either, so I'm really glad you asked, Cyril, because I saw your email and I was like, that doesn't seem right.
I got a text from Jared like, hey.
Does that seem right? And he's like, oh, yeah, that's a thing. I'm like, oh, well, I'm definitely putting this on the podcast. We already heard the feel-good story of the week, which is very strange, and it is Tom playing with 3D printing and his imagination. Chris and Jordan.
And other things, and making other people play with those other things, too.
So I'll put a link to that in the description below.
I just can't express when we're out working, trying to get something done, and suddenly you're presented with this thing. What is the life experience that...
He's like Kazuto Yamaki in that way, where he's like...
Is he though?
Well, he's like, if I'm going to do something, I don't care what people think. I'm doing it. And he did. He committed. He seems like a really well-adjusted human.
Until...
But I take it back. I mean, I don't know. Something's going on there. This guy's got some darkness.
Well, that's going to do it for us this week. Sorry, it's a shorter episode. We have to go downstairs now because we have a packed schedule. They really did not give us much wiggle room here. Next week, we'll have a lot more to talk about because CP Plus will be over. All of the stuff that was announced will be out there and we can go over it. And there's certainly going to be a lot to discuss.
And we have a special guest as well.
Do.
It's going to be a poppin' pod.
Very special guest. Are we going to just, keep that a surprise?
No, you can go ahead and say it.
Okay. Well, this is also somebody that touched Tom's penal.
God, don't say it like that. Hate this. You're going to get us YouTube doesn't...
Emily, Micro Four Nerds. Emily Lowry's going to come on the show. It's okay. Together. But anyway, she's fantastic.
Well, now she's really committed.
Yeah,
we did say it on
the podcast.
After hearing this one, she's like,
It's kind of shocking if it's just the three of us next week. I wonder why.
Tom.
On that note, thanks to Haukland for sponsoring the PetaPixel Podcast this week, and we will catch you all next time. Goodbye.
おやすみなさい。